Okay, we should be now live.
I need to finish that real quick.
Okay, we should be now live. Okay, we should be now live. Alright, and there's your link.
All right.
Cut off some of these previews. Fussing about bitrate again. Alright, we're live. We're streaming. Ready?
Yes.
Alrighty. Hello, this is once again Joe of the West.
And this is Zeal of Sparta.
Today we have a whole bunch of crap to talk about. But I guess first, I'm going to... Let's talk about the fact that we've come up with some names by just randomly coming up with names 5 minutes before we started. And I'm going to put this up as a poll. I'm going to put the link in the show notes, or I'm going to put the link in the description, and possibly in an annotation somewhere on the screen. But we've got some doozies. We got Auto Techery, the Totally Unprepared Podcast, which I think would be the most accurate description. This week, yeah.
Especially since we put together the show notes just a few minutes before the actual show.
Shh, magic. They're not supposed to know that. Shh. There's no way they can tell. We also have This Week in Crap. We also have This Week in Geek. That might be stepping on somebody else's toes, though. And then my other favorite is the Random Stream of Consciousness. Although maybe we should call it the pseudo-random stream of consciousness, because it's kind of random, but we do some preparation.
The pseudo-random podcast. I actually like that.
Let's do that as an option. PSUDO.
The pseudo-random.
Oh, you want to put the pseudo in the front of the...
Yeah.
There. We just come up with it. Yeah, I know I misspelled it.
I don't have to know that.
Okay, fine. But anyway, there's going to be a straw poll. While you're talking, I may just create the... I think I'm going to do a straw poll and throw it up on the screen so anybody who happens to be watching can start voting on it. We may or may not take what you vote. Because it's our decision.
But vote anyway. It's democracy.
Yes, vote early, vote often. No, wait, don't vote often. But anyway, so the first real story is yours. Apparently NASA wants to cut the trip time to Mars in half. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Hi, yes. Well, according to Ars Technica, there is there's continued efforts for NASA to develop a more rapid form of transport in order to get to the outer planets, like Saturn and Jupiter and so on. But first, of course, is Mars. And at the current pace of liquid fueled rockets, it would take about 8 months or so, I believe. And that is just simply too long because it would require the stockpiling of a lot of food, oxygen, other supplies, and so on. Plus, it would. The astronauts would get their lifetime assortment of radiation in the one trip because it's nasty out there. Anywho, so they're thinking about a few methods. One of those is like a thermonuclear reactor,
Bombs,
which
nuclear bombs are the answer.
explosions firing out the backside. Anyways,
Nuclear
and
farts are the answer.
yes, exactly. Gaseous clouds of nuclear radiation going in the opposite direction. Or solar electric propulsion. That is in the cards. Um, According with their interview with no according to NASA Administrator Charles Bowden, speaking at a program or speaking about the program at the Aerojet Rocketdyne plant. Uh, but one of the more viable propulsion systems that they're thinking about right now is solar electric propulsion. Think HAL ion projection and or HAL effect ion thrusters, which Aerojet Rocketdyne recently won a contract with NASA to develop. Um, do you know anything about ion projection or ion thrusting, Joey?
Not, not really. I don't really know enough about it to talk intelligently about it, but um, it's not what
Okay.
we use now because now we just use solid fuel.
Or apparently in NASA's case here, liquid fuel,
Oh
according to the
well,
article. Yeah,
right.
I thought it
Um,
was solid fuel too, but
yeah.
they
So
may not have an advanced solid fuel mixture to go the distance. But I believe what the concept with ion thrusters is using electricity generated by solar energy,
right.
using an array on the ship. It would use it would generate electricity and basically use ions to push themselves out by reacting. Before I butcher this, I believe it reacts with by start over. It basically pushes out ions uh, to thrust itself, and those ions, of course, are hitting smaller particles, many small particles like uh, bits of radiation floating around in space and whatnot. Uh, and since solar energy is infinitely plentiful,
Right.
uh, it can still be able to propel itself on without
So
running out of fuel.
so is this kind of like what they when they talk about solar sails, where you I don't think it's the exact same thing because I know there's a technology where basically it's just what it sounds like. You have a giant sail that collects solar radiation, and because light acts like particles, it pushes you along.
Right.
So is this basically doing the same thing except, well, not necessarily the same thing, but it collects solar energy and then translates those into ions and fires it out the
Yes.
back? Okay.
Yes, I believe it's the same concept, same principle, and it'd be pretty interesting. They want to according to Ars Technica, NASA wants to cut the trip time in half. So, say maybe 4 months,
Right.
and that would make a very nice feedback loop of benefits. You need less food, supplies, oxygen, uh,
You can make your
which
ships
means,
smaller.
yep, you can make the ship smaller, which makes it easier to propel, and just overall smaller, faster, lighter, stronger, so to speak.
So it's a Kanye West song.
I'm sure that saying's been around before Kanye West. Like, try the robots, the French robots. Yeah?
Right. Okay.
Yay,
So
Daft Punk.
let me find. Uh oh. I
Plus,
have.
they won't be irradiated until they become mutants.
Ah.
Or we
Well,
could just send French robots up into space.
well, I did read an interesting thing about Daft Punk where someone proposed the theory that Daft Punk was different people that they kept rotating them out, and they just passed the mask along,
Huh.
and then basically over time people would think Daft Punk was immortal. Anyway,
Conspiracy. Yeah.
yep. Well, let's bring it down to earth a little bit. Talk about gaming.
Yeah.
The recent occurrence, ZeniMax, the company who produced the Elder Scrolls Online, have started revoking quote unapproved keys. Um, Basically, this is causing a lot of people grief because according to the ZeniMax website, they've got they're doing this because they're saying unapproved online vendors are stealing credit cards, buying legitimate keys from other retailers, and then selling the keys at a discount. So,
Basically, fraud.
yeah, I mean, well, it is straight up fraud. I mean, there's no question about it. But the problem is, the people that I'm hearing, people I'm getting complaints from or hearing complaints from, they're saying they paid full price for it. They paid the $50 or whatever. So it's not like they got any benefit from it. And I still wonder in how things work today how this could be a widespread problem. I mean, I could kind of see, I guess, if legitimate
It,
keys were being purchased with stolen credit cards, how that could still work. But it just doesn't make sense. And even so, they're they're causing a big penalty for their own customer base. It,
right. They have to go about it in a way. How do they verify which keys were purchased with stolen card information?
well, I guess when you purchase an online key, if I was to buy take something, let's just take World of Warcraft because I'm familiar with that and you're familiar with that.
Right.
I buy a World of Warcraft key, activate my account, and then the vendor I bought it from gets a chargeback on their card. They can then notify Blizzard and say this purchase is no longer valid. Now,
Right.
I assume Blizzard would take it, get rid of it, but would turn off the account. But I don't like with phone company, with like prepaid airtime, which is another keyed system. The retailer just has to eat it. The retailer doesn't get the money back. So if you go buy a Verizon prepaid card and the retailer accepts the credit card, gives you the key, and you put it on your account, and then later on that's charged back, well, the retailer just out of luck. So that's why I'm wondering on these cases why ZeniMax is cutting them off. Because in this case, it seems to me that it would be obvious that it's not the end user that's doing the crime; it's these third party websites. So
Well, one thing I wonder, if it's an invalid purchase, would not ZeniMax have to refund the retailer and
Well,
in turn disable the account, deauthorize the account on the fraudulent purchase?
well, maybe. I mean, I'm thinking in that scenario, you know, you know, good company A sells a key to bad company B. The bad company turns around and sells it to an end user. Even if ZeniMax refunded the money back to the original vendor, it's
Okay, so we
still,
have. Are we talking about fraudulent vendors then?
yeah, that's what they're saying. Is there's
Okay.
vendors are supposed these third party fraudulent vendors are supposedly stealing credit cards and using the stolen credit cards to buy these keys,
Okay.
and then turning around and selling them. I guess it's a electronic version of somebody bootlegging movies and taking them to the flea market.
And scalpers.
Yeah. Although it's a reverse scalping because they're selling them for less supposedly than what they retail for.
Yeah, that's. I guess you could call it reverse scalping, but there are scalpers out there. I
Right.
live near enough to a football stadium, and of course, it's hard to go through some intersections without scalpers trying to say, "Hey, I got cheap seats. I can't really go, so I'm selling them cheap. Please buy it." And that may be a
Yeah.
fake
Yeah,
ticket.
and that has happened in the past. They would do someone would make fake Super Bowl tickets or whatever.
Right.
But
Okay.
anyway, but on a happier note, summer sales are here, which may be a
Yay.
sad note because ow, my credit cards. So I do buy my games online digitally. And this is gonna sound kind of like an ad. This is not an ad. We don't take ads unless somebody wants to give us a whole bunch of money. No, no. Summer games are here. Sales are here. Uh, Steam is the big one everybody knows about. The company I buy a lot of mine from is Good Old Games, GOG.com. Um, Mostly because they are unwrapped from copy protection. And no, I don't plan on selling my games, bootlegging or anything like that. But it
just think
does,
just think of my rant about Ubisoft games and me not being able to play any Assassin's Creed game except for the first one, which I've already cleared entirely because of their DRM had freaked out, essentially,
right,
and basically shut me down. Even though I'm a legitimate user, I purchased the games, some of them full price, some of them on sale, and it just all of a sudden stopped one day halfway through Assassin's Creed 2. I cannot play any of them. That's the downside of DRM, and that's why I would prefer non DRM controlled games
right.
because it's not like I'm pirating them. It's just I just want to play the game,
You
and I
want to
like
get
to support vendors I appreciate for their work.
right, and
That's how
you've
it's supposed to
got
work.
the you've run into a problem a lot of people run into. You just want the game that you paid money for to work. And, if it's not your equipment, then it's not right. Now, there's always the argument, it's like, well, the old games won't play on the newer equipment, which is valid, but um, and I don't want to turn this into a big DRM conversation, but that is one of the reasons why usually buy from vendors who offer a DRM free version or a CD DVD version, because eventually that DRM is going to be out of what am I trying to say? Not out of style, it'll be outdated. So
Yeah, out of spec or whatnot,
right, so you could
obsolete.
someone will eventually patch any bugs out of it. But so far, I have bought several games. I've got Deponia, which is one of the ones we talked about doing a Let's Play on. I got second, third, so I've completed that. I finally got Dreamfall: The Longest Journey, which is one it looks really good, looks really nice. I don't know if I'm gonna do a Let's Play of that, but I do really want to play it. I also got Space Quest 1 through 6, which is an adventure. From what I've read, is more like. Have you ever played King's Quest or seen King's Quest?
I've heard of it.
It sounds like one of those style of games, but in space. So that could be interesting.
Yeah, that does sound interesting.
Um, oh, I do
Starbound
think.
is on sale. It's a Terraria-like game. It's on Steam for basically a third off. It's roughly $10 to $11, and it's like it's just like Terraria, but with larger objects that fill the screen better. Slightly different control system for placing down objects. And apparently, you travel from planet to planet in some kind of starship, small starship.
Hmm,
You got to land on the planets to survive. It looks interesting. It's been out for a while now.
okay. I'll see if I can find it. If I can find it really, really fast.
It's on Steam. It was one
Well,
of the recent Steam sales. I don't know if it's on GOG or not.
well, I was thinking on the Space Quest. I actually tweeted out a picture someone had shared. Or no, I don't think it's someone shared it. I think I found it on their website. It was like the best. Yeah, here it is. Best game over screen ever. Yeah, this was Space Quest 10. Or maybe it's not like yeah. Space Quest 10, Latex Babes of Esteros. Now this is the best. Now this pain. Now this is a pain that'll linger. All the Ben Gay in Florida won't relieve this stiffness. And I don't know if it showed up on your stream yet, but it's basically the guy with an arrow in the back.
Mm.
So since I've seen this, I've wanted to play Space Quest because that was awesome.
Yeah, college humor.
Yeah.
The video's buffering, by the way.
Okay.
Oh, pixelated arrows. Yay. With pink sleeves on his arms in a white spacesuit.
I'm
That must be the image, anyways.
pretty tapped out on
Is it your
memory
bandwidth?
usage. I don't know.
Oh.
I'm sending. It shouldn't be.
Hmm.
But I'm also getting the message about audio, so we basically had the same problem like we had last time.
So please stand by.
Well, I do, and I'm going to do an unboxing of it, because I haven't done it yet. I've got a new router. The old Netgear I had the router I did have before. It crapped out on me, so I had an old one that I kept in a box from when I did PC repair. So that should give you a big hint on how old it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hooked that one up. So I hooked up the router I'm running now is new out of the box, but it's been in the box for 10 years. Almost. Well,
New
maybe
old
8.
stock.
Exactly. Except this isn't a car, so we don't want new old stock.
Yeah, I had a woman at one of the stores telling me that she got a brand new car and ended up being it's like a 2000 XLT model. Oh, you mean the XLT trim? Is it an Explorer?
Right. So,
Of course, she has an iPhone and doesn't even know how to. Well, she doesn't like to use it, and she's trying to get customers to put the store's app on the phone.
huh.
One of those kiosks in the middle of the aisle.
Well, last part of gaming news I have anyway is, and this is part of the reason why I mentioned good old games. You can now share a wish list. And behold my wish list. My teeny tiny wish list because I only used it as a bookmark before. But it is neat. You can view it at the address you see above. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. So the shameless self promotion segment is over. It looks like you wanted to talk about Ford and Toyota and Apple and Google all living happily together. Oh wait, no, that's not what it says.
Yeah, I'll get to that in just a second. Sorry, the cat wants to break down the door because he
Okay.
likes things. I have an overly obsessively attached kitty.
Well,
We'll say that.
this couldn't be an internet video without cats.
Yes. Cat videos. Hoorah. Anywho, we've talked about Ford Sync in the past. Their Ford Sync 3 system is coming soon. And there's been some details I was unaware of. Apparently, the Focus and the C-Max are supposed to get Sync 3 the first, but I believe the Fusion for the 2016 model year, which are sitting on dealer lots now. I saw three of them yesterday. There was probably more, considering I did not look that closely. Uh, when Sync 3 was originally announced, it was announced in a video inside the Ford Fusion, but with a different gauge cluster. Not a gauge cluster, but an instrument cluster
Okay.
uh, on the IP stack in the middle with actual buttons because people cannot deal with capacitive touch buttons on certain cars, or most cars really. So Ford made a reversal and they added physical buttons back to certain trims. Before you had to get the base instrument. Yeah. Sorry, my cat is drowning me out. But
Well, we can probably fix that in post if it comes really bad over the recording.
yeah, you can't really. I doubt you can really hear the cat right now, but it is extremely distracting. He has a knack for that. And he likes to interrupt whenever I'm doing anything. Really. Obsessive.
Right.
Hashtag that.
Hashtag obsessed.
Yes, but the center stack where all the controls for your HVAC, your radio reside, Ford was criticized uh, for using touch capacitive buttons and not enough knobs and uh, physical buttons, physical keys. Uh,
Was the problem because you have to look at the screen, whereas a physical button you could just kind of know where it is and put your hand on it?
yes, that was people's chief complaint is there's not enough tactile feel for many of the controls, and people are used to they learn their controls via muscle memory when they're driving, so they can focus on driving.
Yeah.
And Ford's big thing was you have the touch screen, it's customizable, and you have a few buttons down below, but most of them are capacitive. Uh, the whole thought there was to be futuristic and stylish, and some capacitive uh, button styles don't wear as much as, say, a physical key because there's no moving part. It's electrosensitive. It reacts to the electrical signal that is emitted from your hand. And there was just not enough tactile feel. People are familiar with depressing buttons, and they can tell them apart by not looking at them, but by feel. Like some are more rounded in ways. It's like some some styles, like a fan, for example. If it is a button instead of a rotary dial, which the dial is preferred in most cases, it's usually a wider button than, say, the defrost button, the defrost key for your rear window. So they reversed that, they redesigned it, but the Sync 3 system originally debuted in a short video last year with the new uh, stack, the new center stack. And I just happened to notice yesterday on the lot that it is there. And of course, the high trim, the titanium, has a different stack setup from the SE, which is more the midline to base style. It's much better than the other button setup as well. It's much more intuitively designed as opposed to stylized heavily. Uh, with nice, big, uh, easy to press keys. They're high color on a black background. So if you like want to use the air conditioning seats, it's a blue image of a seat, maybe with a fan on it or labeled AC. If you look at it, red if it's the heated seats, just things like that. Temperature controls, your red and blue, of course. But Ford's original big push was for people to use voice controls as their primary method of changing these. Even in my 2010 vehicle, which is manufactured by Ford Motor Company, it uses Sync 1. I can press the voice control button and I can say climate 72. It will repeat back to me temperature 72 degrees, and then I will tell it yes, and it will change it to that by itself. I don't have to take my hand off the steering wheel at all. And from there, around 2013, that's when they moved into the touch capacitive buttons, and people did not cope well with that. But there's at least three methods to change those controls. Four, really. There's the main stack, there's the touchscreen, there's the voice control, and then there's the controls on the steering wheel.
Okay.
But this leads me to the next thing. Sync 3, being a BlackBerry QNX based system, whereas the previous Sync 1 and Sync 2 systems, as well as Toyota's Intune system, were all loosely Microsoft based. I want to say Microsoft CE. And they were developed and maintained by different teams. Possibly not the same Microsoft teams that originally developed it. But anyways, Toyota is getting together with Ford, and Toyota wants to use Ford's Sync 3 system. And along with the Sync 3 system, there is Ford's AppLink, which they have been working on for a little more than 3 years now. They built a new research and development center in the Silicon Valley area. And they have a thing called AppLink where developers can create their own apps for the sync system, such as Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio. Even Domino's has one, NPR One is there, there's the Sirius XM, and so on and so forth. And it's a pretty neat idea. It's Ford's answer to it does what smartphones are capable of with all the apps today with the different functionalities. But the key thing here is it's bringing it to the automotive world. But Toyota and Ford, Toyota wanting to have a nice reliable system and Ford wanting to spread the ecosystem and flesh it out, because the broader you can spread a specific technology, the better adaptation it will get, and more developers will eventually gravitate to it. It's just like there's so many apps on the Android store as opposed to BlackBerry's smartphones, whatever they are calling them these days.
I think they just call them Blackberries, but
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, but
well, people have
yeah.
navigated or migrated away from from the BlackBerry because you know there's. I think basically you're right. I mean, it's basically there's not much support. I guess not much variety.
Yeah, it's more attractive to for a developer to develop on, say, Android versus even iOS because there's many times more Android phones out on the market as
Right.
there are the iPhone uh, units. And there's more iPhones than Windows phones. There's more Windows phones than BlackBerry phones. So, of course, the more units out there for a developer to reach an audience with, uh, the easier it is for them to actually monetize it or get recognition. So, of course, they're going to do Android, then iOS, then Windows Phone typically, and BlackBerry if they're desperate, unfortunately, for BlackBerry. Fortunately for BlackBerry, their QNX system is solid. Chrysler's Uconnect already deploys it, and I think Uvo for Kia and Hyundai use it as well. But to circle back around, Ford and Toyota getting together, they don't like the encroachment of Google and Apple uh, into the infotainment system segment of the industry. And they think that could potentially be bad because all these automotive companies have spent a lot of money on developing these systems over the years. They've experimented with it, they have furthered the technology. It works on a different scale than, say, a smartphone or a PC because it has to integrate with many of the car's controls and systems and also be able to react in a car environment because you crank up your car and you go.
Right.
Whereas if you're booting up a large PC, it may take longer than 10 seconds. Whereas a car, you just need it to go then and there and work time after time after time. But this announcement comes after the big three German automakers, Audi, BMW, and Daimler, which owns Mercedes. Um, they felt threatened that they don't like it either. Um, that certain tech companies are encroaching on their automotive segments, and the German Big Three have been some of the earliest developers of these infotainment systems since like the late 90s, I believe. And Nokia's HERE map technology has been rumored to be bought out soon, and the Germans are prepared to try to buy Nokia's HERE division if it comes to that. But that is yet to be resolved, and basically, they think there should be competition to the likes of CarPlay and Android Auto. But Ford's not going to roll it out entirely. I believe they're still going to allow compatibility in future models. But Ford's Sync 3 system will be rolling out to cars pretty soon, starting with the Fords and Lincolns of 2016. Some can be found on the lot, I believe. And with that, you can actually have a choice of different navigation systems. Um, it has been said last year that, or actually at the beginning of this year in January, that around 2016, Ford should have the capability in their Sync 3 system to allow, say, the option of Google Maps or Nokia's HERE Maps, or maybe even Apple's Maps. Uh, at your disposal. You can switch in between them. Uh, I'm assuming either via cellular network or an SD card or USB key card, USB drive rather, and that would be good. Variety is nice to have that option, whereas infotainment systems of past years have been slow, restrictive, and not fulfilled. So how about them nuggets?
Oh, sorry, my mic was still muted. We had an alarm going off. Yeah, so that sounds interesting because that's one thing that I've always worried about getting one of the built-in infotainment systems is upgrades.
Right.
And I know this may not be exactly what they're aiming for, what they're trying to solve, but that's what this I think this will solve that concern as well.
Right. Yeah, I think Ford and Toyota are mainly concerned about um, companies like Google and Apple coming in and basically dominating control over what the car companies can offer in their vehicles. And
Right.
of course, these car companies want to have that control because um, these systems affect what goes on in their vehicles. And frankly, it's their reputation on the line. So if something breaks with, say, Apple CarPlay or Android Auto in the car, guess who gets the blame? The car company.
Right.
Uh,
And
it's like
Apple
Ford.
does Apple does routinely break stuff.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Uh, parents' iPhones are grand examples. Um, and also obsolescence, planned obsolescence.
Right.
Apple is one of the most notorious companies for doing that. And cars stay on the market a lot longer than a smartphone.
Well,
A 5 year
hopefully.
old, yeah, a 5 year old phone is ancient. A 5 year old car is nothing. It still has a long life ahead. I actually test drove a uh, sports sedan yesterday out of curiosity. It had 120,000 miles on it, and it was about 6 or 7 years old, depending on how you look at the model year. It drove just fine. It had a few issues, but they were mostly cosmetic because the previous driver apparently does not know boundaries that well. Scuffed wheels, squished front bumper, uh, things like that. But powertrain, control systems, the navigation system, all still solid, still working strong and without error. And the typical average used car on the market these days is between 11 and 12 years old.
Okay.
And upgradability will be very important in the future. And cars are integrating 4G LTE systems into their vehicles, and future proofing is in mind with these developers of these systems, which is the which is a big push behind the AppLink software
Right.
for Ford.
Okay. Well, I guess moving from infotainment to, well, entertainment, movie-tainment. I want to talk about a movie I want to see.
Okay.
Yep, it's coming out in 2015. It's based on a book that I really wanted to read but haven't read yet because why would I
Which
do
it is
that?
on Audible.
It is on Audible. Um, but the movie's called The Martian, and I think it's going to be a very interesting movie because the premise is basically a team goes to Mars, and I did think this kind of synergized well with the NASA story. But they go to Mars, and there's a storm on the planet, and the team ends up having to leave. But they think this one guy, Mark Watney,
Yes, something like
yeah,
that.
they think he's dead, and they leave, and he has to basically survive long enough for them to come and mount a rescue mission. Although I'm pretty sure the movie didn't say 8 months, or the book doesn't say 8 months. I think it's going to be. I think he's got to be trapped there for years. But yeah, I just thought that would be. I thought that would be a very interesting movie.
Yes, it looks interesting, and I've listened to part of the audiobook, and it sounds fantastic. The voice acting is great. The narrative is great. Um, in the whole atmosphere that it presents to you um, as a situation seems very intriguing and fresh. And as soon as I get my Audible account, I want to listen to it first.
Right. So yeah, so I'm clipping through the trailer now. It's I'm trying to find the part. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna take a look at it, and I will probably, unless I forget, once I see it, we'll probably do a review on it. Um. Yeah, that's pretty much all I think we should dedicate to this.
Yeah.
So anyway, well, that brings us to the end of another podcast. As you like to say every
Oh,
week, another one's in the can. But we do have
wait
the
a minute.
question of the
Yeah,
week.
there we go.
Question of the week, mostly for our listeners, is what games will you be playing this summer while your credit card is begging for mercy? Or maybe I should say, what games will make your credit card beg for mercy? But we'll stick with the original one. What games will you be playing this summer? Um, I don't. I haven't picked a particular one, but I've been looking at some older ones. Um, some of the Ultima ones. I think I may do. Um, what was the one I had marked down? Not Elder Scrolls Online, which is hilarious because they're taking keys away.
And ironically, that is my pick for the summer.
Exactly.
I have a bunch of friends both on PC and Xbox One that want to play it. The trick is picking which system I'm going to play it on. And I've been suggested to go to the Xbox One platform because people will be starting essentially from scratch. So it would be easier to mix and mingle as an online community. But it,
That's true.
I am questioning. I have no idea what the graphics are going to be set to, and audio. Well, it's not a point and click, but it was originally designed for keyboard and mouse on the PC. I played the beta. I enjoyed the beta. It looks great, but it's since it's now Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited. It is now a no subscription model, but it is a typical blockbuster wallet busting $60 as far as games goes. It's expensive, but you do not have to pay the subscription fee, which would have taken 4 months to tackle $60. So
right.
it's
Oh,
people are hyped about it.
I think. Uh oh. The trailer started playing in a background window. Go away.
I hate it when that happens.
So anyway, um, yeah. So I may not. I may end up buying it eventually. If I do, it'll be for the PC. Um, although they are doing one of the things that as a complaint I've had about lots of MMOs is, they charge for the game and they charge the monthly subscription. When
Right.
I figure, if you're going to do one or the other. I mean, yes, people who are going to pay the monthly subscription will probably buy the game anyway, but you don't need that initial or that extra $60 or whatever, because it is a barrier to entry.
Yes. And yeah.
So So,
People, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so like I was saying again, the question of the week is what games will we be playing this summer. Zill will be playing Elder Scrolls when he gets the money, and I'll be playing a bunch of old games.
And of course, I'll probably be playing Destiny as usual. That's my go-to uh, daily game or almost daily game. I've been playing it once every 2 or 3 days lately. And World of Tanks, getting back together with my clan, my guild, and playing on a routine basis. And they are rocking it out in the clan battles. I think they're currently around rank 800 out of 4,700
Hmm.
and some odd clans on World of Tanks. So there's that, and I can't wait to get back into that. Of course, it may take me the better quarter of a year to save up enough money for a certain tier 8 tank
Right.
without spending excessive amounts of money to pay to speed or whatever the correct industry term is. It's not play to win, it's not pay to play, but it does make it easier if you pay the money, especially lots and lots of money.
Right.
But that is a true free to play game. There's no initial cost, there's no monthly subscription. You just pay to get boosts, which usually is experience or in game currency. Anything else to add?
No, I think we've got it.
Yeah. Do you have any special videos coming up in the next week?
I don't think so. I'm gonna start. It's a project I've been meaning to do. I want to take these podcasts and chop them up into smaller segments and fix some of the audio issues we've been having. So I'm gonna start publishing them that way. I'll probably still leave the unedited live version on so they can hear all the hold on, meow.
Yeah,
If somebody
this is
really
our
wants to hear
beta
that.
podcast. Yeah, this
Yeah.
is like our beta podcast series where we work out all the kinks, which is fine. I enjoy doing this,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's kind of fun.
yeah, it's kind of fun. It's a new experience. Got to watch the podcast for years now, and it's a great experience to get to do it.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this. The draw poll. Are you happy with those entries once they show up on your screen? Eventually, one day.
Tomorrow. Today is tomorrow.
And tomorrow's yesterday?
Well, not everybody's going to see it today. They may see it tomorrow.
Right. Or, whatever.
Yeah, I still see the clockwork rook on your screen. And there's the straw poll. Probably my favorite is the Pseudo Random podcast.
Yeah, I like that one.
Things are better when they're spur of the moment.
We may have to disagree on that a little bit, but either way, I think
Sometimes they're better.
right. So,
But yeah, I do have one video coming up. So far, it's tentatively named Red Death the Reaper. It is a short Destiny PvP video. This time, again, it's one single match, is what it's cropped from. It involves a pentakill with one weapon. And boy, were my enemies mad.
Hmm.
But yes, it was a resounding victory. And it's kind of fun to watch. It's short. It's less than a minute and a half for the main body of the video.
well, I
And
guess
that should be going live within a couple of days.
I do want to promote one video that's already come out. the Hearthstone Rogue Dominance.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've seen that one yet, but basically, I end up getting pounded on by a druid all the way down to where I'm at 1 life. He's at full life of 5 armor, and I kill him with that 1 life left.
Yeah, that does sound like a fun one to post.
Yes, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was because I haven't really played rogues much. I ended up killing my existing rogue deck and building one with a deck helper.
Right.
And so it was a pretty random deck, and it was the first one was a victory.
Sometimes it takes a good refresh.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of slow, which is the opposite of rogue. So
Oh, really?
yeah, rogues are
Interesting.
typically fast.
So it's an unconventional rogue deck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sort of thermonuclear Huxley Iron Thruster.
Well, the way I win was kind of weird, and so I'm gonna put a link, I think, in the video, in the description to it, because I really think I don't want to spoil it. It's too awesome. I've got to say it.
Yeah, post that link and let our viewers decide.
Yep.
I will be watching it.
Yep. It should be on my channel. It's the last one I uploaded. But anyway, I think we should draw this to a close because now we're just rambling.
Yeah, and we'll separate this podcast from our Let's Play that we may be doing in a few minutes.
Right, because that would be kind of hard to segue into.
Oh yeah, but if people like Let's Plays, stay tuned. Another random podcast, possibly pseudo-random, is in the can.
Right.
Have a good one, folks.